Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the webinar, Cambridge Updates to Universities. My name is Kamal, and I'm the Regional Manager Higher Education for Southeast Asia and Pacific. I will be your host for today. For your information, this webinar marks the start of Destination Asia Pacific Virtual University Week 2021. The week is designed for our school community to learn more about key study destinations across Asia Pacific. It will culminate with a university fair this Saturday from 3 to 7 p.m. Singapore China time, featuring 38 selected universities and institutions across the region. This session is unique as it is the only event for the week organized specifically for our university colleagues and friends to learn more about Cambridge assessments and tests, methodologies, as well as other updates related to key destinations. With me today, I have Nicola Johnson, who is the Global Recognition Manager at Cambridge Assessment English, as well as Kevin Ebenezer, who is the Global Recognition Head at Cambridge Assessment International Education. Welcome on board, Kevin and Nicholas. Nikki, before we start, a few housekeeping matters. Please use the Q&A box to ask questions and do identify yourself as well as your institution. We will also be recording the webinar. Now, just to provide context to colleagues who are new to Cambridge Assessment, we are a department of the University of Cambridge, and within the department, we have several business units as featured in the diagram here. We have also recently merged with Cambridge University Press. Without further ado, please allow me to invite Nikki Johnson to take over the floor with her presentation. Nikki, please, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Greetings from Cambridge, United Kingdom. As Kamal said, I'm Nicola Johnson, Global Recognition Manager at Cambridge Assessment English, and I'm absolutely delighted to be given the opportunity to talk to you today about Cambridge English qualifications. Many institutions have always accepted more than one English language proficiency test as proof of language proficiency to fulfill your English language requirements. And I wanted to talk about the acceptance of Cambridge English qualifications and how acceptance of these results can help universities ensure that students have in-depth English language skills and the right kind of language skills to succeed in an academic context. But before I get into that, a little bit more about who Cambridge English is. So at Cambridge Assessment English, we provide the world's leading range of English language qualifications and tests for both learners and teachers of English. We have an in-depth understanding of how people learn and teach languages, which is gained through years and years of research. Our organisation was established in 1913, and we offer over 100 years of expertise in the field of English language assessment, and everything we do is really backed by research. We are the producer and proud co-owner of the IELTS test, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with. IELTS is owned by three partners: the British Council, IDP IELTS Australia, and Cambridge Assessment English. And our role in the partnership is as the producer of the IELTS test. But it's not just IELTS, we're also Michigan Language Assessment and Occupational English Test, or OET, partners too. So that's a little bit about our context. So moving on the screen now, you can see some stats and figures about Cambridge Assessment English. Our exams and tests are globally available for learners and globally accepted and used by institutions and organisations. More than 5.5 million people take one of our English language exams and tests each year. So truly an achievement. So these are the three qualifications we would recommend for admissions to colleges and universities, depending of course on the programme and level of study. Each of these exams can be used for different levels of study at your institution. So first up is B2 First. So we would recommend this for foundation, ESL programmes, pre-sessional courses or community college admissions where there is mostly skills-based learning. It's an upper intermediate English language exam focused at level level B2 of the Common European Framework of Reference, or the CEFR for short. So it's around an IELTS band score of 5 to 6. It really gives students the practical English language skills they need to succeed in higher or further education. Next up is C1 Advanced. So this is really our flagship product for the higher education sector, and it's focused at level C1 of the CEFR. So around an IELTS band score of 6.5 to 8, and it tests academic English language skills. It shows that students have the right level of English to succeed at undergraduate or graduate level. Next up is C2 Proficiency. So it's our highest level English qualification, focused at level C2 of the CEFR. So really equivalent to an IELTS band score of 8 or higher. It shows that students have achieved an extremely high level of English and are more than able to cope with the demands of an undergraduate, graduate, or even postdoc program. All these exams are accessible for students, and there are multiple test dates throughout the year. The fees are set locally to ensure they are affordable for candidates and that the exams are financially accessible. Students can take the exams at hundreds of centres around the world, and there are also thousands of schools where students can prepare for the exams. We also support candidates who have special requirements, such as visual difficulties, hearing or speaking or learning difficulties. And the exams are supported by preparation materials which provide tools, tips and tricks. So next up, moving on to recognition. Cambridge Assessment English qualifications and tests are accepted currently by over 25,000 organisations worldwide. And we're adding new organisations and institutions to our database every week. So the actual figure is closer to 27,000. Over the last few years, we have seen really good growth in the number of institutions and organisations choosing to use our exams to help them. 3 candidates took the first ever Cambridge English exam back in 1913, and now 5.5 million Cambridge English exams and tests are taken every year. This growth really reflects how English has evolved into a key skill needed to achieve a competitive advantage. And one of the reasons that more and more students are taking the exams is because of the ever-growing recognition of them with institutions like yourselves. So how does the 25,000 figure break down? Well, we have around 13,000 or over 13,000 higher and further education institutions, 9,000 companies, and more than 750 ministries and government bodies from around the world. And for this reason and this kind of broad range of recognising organisations, you know, we can really say that Cambridge English qualifications can open the door to work, study and life abroad. Now here on the slide is just a very, very small snapshot of the thousands of universities around the world that accept our exams for admissions. And this includes universities from Canada, the UK, the USA, Australasia, Singapore, and many, many other countries around the world. I thought I'd drill down now just into the university acceptance in Australia and New Zealand in particular. So C1 Advanced is accepted by the Department of Home Affairs in Australia for all visa applications, including student visas. It's accepted by a wide range of educational institutions, so all the universities, including the leading group of 8 universities. It's also accepted for Endeavour scholarships and by many professional accountancy bodies in Australia. And in New Zealand, C1 Advanced has 100% recognition by universities. And Immigration New Zealand recognises B2 First for all visa categories. However, it's important to note that there is no English language test required for fee-paying student visas and pathway student visas. Applicants just need to meet the university entry requirements. So from that point of view, a student could also use C1 Advanced for that purpose, even though First is the only one currently officially accepted. Next up are employers, and I said earlier over 9,000. So this again is a small snapshot. They are recognised by employers for generally recruitment purposes, but also for training, development and promotional purposes. A large number of candidates use our exams to use their, to prove their English ability for employment. They want to get the best jobs with the best companies around the world, and we have recognition with some of the biggest brands around the world. So why would an institute recognise Cambridge English qualifications? Why would you do so at your institution? Well, by doing so and adding the qualifications to the list of results you accept on your website and in your recruitment literature, you will be able to reach and attract international students who have the right language skills to succeed in higher education. And on our side, by recognising our exams, we would add you to our global online recognition database, which is accessed by thousands of students per year who are looking to move on to higher education. We will mention you on our popular social channels. With over 6 million fans on our Facebook page, it is the largest education Facebook page in the world. We will utilise our social channels, which are local, and our local web pages to reach audiences near your institution in your region. And we can include you in our regular newsletter to learners, teachers, parents, and education agents. Our newsletters to each of these audiences reach over 100,000 subscribers globally. And then we can also discuss joint webinars as a way to reach our candidates and get your institution in front of them. You could also subscribe to our quarterly higher education newsletter, which includes all the latest information on English proficiency exams and services for higher education institutions. Finally, we know that security of exams is important to higher education institutions, and by becoming a recognising organisation, you would also get access to our results verification service, which is secure. So only approved institutions can verify results. It's reliable. You can trust the reliability of the service as it's supported by a department of the University of Cambridge. It's immediate, so applicants' results can be verified immediately at any time. It's free. The service is both free for you to use and for the student to use who wishes to send you their result. And it's accessible. So it's a web-based service and is accessible to all universities. And the service really allows you to firstly verify individual or groups of candidates' English language results. So you can verify candidate results one by one or in bulk by downloading details of multiple candidates at once. And there would be the option to download PDF copies of the candidate statement of results or as a data file to save into your own systems. You can download results using customizable templates. So only download the data you need by creating your own customized template, and you can save these templates for future use or download your entire history. You can customize email alerts to let you know when results have been shared with your institution. So you can receive the alerts whenever the candidate shares their results with you, or you can set your preferences so you can receive them instantly or daily or even weekly. You can use API functionality to integrate with your own CRM database. So you can really streamline your workflow by using API integration. And this option allows you to receive the Cambridge English results directly into your own CRM database. And you can also add as many users you need to at your institution. So you can set up additional users and they will all have their own secure login details, and they can all set their own individual notification preferences. So to register is really simple. You just fill out a kind of brief registration form and that gets sent through to us in Cambridge to approve. So thank you very much for listening. That was kind of a whistle-stop tour to Cambridge English qualifications. Our global online database is updated once a month, and it has a list showing all the recognising organisations we know about. For an institute to be added to the database, we just need proof of recognition. So this could be a recognition form or an email or even just information on your website showing the recognition. We also have a dedicated recognition help desk. So we always welcome universities to contact us if they have any questions about recognition, and the email address is there on the slide. So thanks again, and I'd like to hand back to Kamal.
Thanks, Nikki. Moving on, I would like to hand over the presentation to Kevin. Over to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kamal. Good morning, everybody from Cambridge, and good afternoon and good evening, wherever you are. I'm the head of global recognition from Cambridge International. So from that, it seems obvious that I support the progression of Cambridge learners from one phase of the educational journey to the next. And we do this by maintaining and growing recognition in our top destination countries, by supporting the development of new markets through recognition within specific and local contexts. So for example, in Thailand or Vietnam, we are growing our schools market there. So therefore gaining recognition with universities in those countries is really important for us. And then identifying future host destination countries and implement recognition strategies to ensure that our qualifications are recognized. And I think this is really important when we think about where we are in the pandemic right now. And that is one of the reasons why we have worked with universities in Asia Pacific, because we think this is a really important destination market for our students. I'll briefly talk about our history. So we started Cambridge examinations about 160 years ago, predominantly in the UK, but in 1864, we began to examine students internationally. And as you can see from the slide, we have over 1 million candidates a year in 160 countries. We have 9 regional teams based in the different countries around the world. And assigned to each of these regional teams is a recognition manager. So within those teams, there are people in Cambridge who work specifically with universities. Next slide, please. So our qualifications range from primary all the way to Cambridge Advanced, our upper secondary and Cambridge Advanced. And I think for universities, our Cambridge Upper Secondary and Cambridge Advanced are the 2 most important qualifications. Now, these qualifications include the Cambridge IGCSE, the Cambridge O-levels. So depending on the country you are, students will choose to do either IGCSE or O-levels, but the actual standard and the level of qualification for IGCSE A-level, O-level, and IGCSE are the same. And then we have our Cambridge Advanced, which include our AS and A levels. Next slide. So I'll just talk a bit about our Cambridge International AS and A levels, because in most countries, this is the route to universities. They are equivalent to the UK A levels. However, they are not the same. They're not UK centric. We always include an international relevance. So when teaching something like literature, we would teach something, schools would be able to teach something about their country in the literature, or their history, or their geography. We have 3 examination sessions, so a June series, a November series, and we are currently in the November series, and a March series that is designated especially for India. Cambridge International AS level qualifications can be a standalone qualification. Now, as a lot of countries move to a 12-year system of education, the year 12 or the grade 12 is generally taken at AS level. So a large number of students will not have the opportunity to move on to the year 13 to the A level, so they will stop at AS level. And I think this is really important for universities to understand that the AS level is a standalone qualification. It is about 180 contact hours over 1 year, and the A levels are 360 contact hours over 2 years. We have them in about 55 subjects, and students can specialize or retain breadth. By this, I mean, if a student wants to study engineering, for example, they can take physics, maths, and further maths in their A level or AS level subjects. And that's how they specialize, because they know they want to study engineering. But if they want to study something else, for example, law, then they could take history, English, and even biology. So they can retain the breadth of the curriculum, but then go into the university to study the subject of their choice. Our qualifications are internationally respected and recognized throughout the world. And we regularly update our qualifications. And what we try to do is get HE input. So if you are willing to provide input into updating of our qualifications, we would be happy to work with you. The passing grades for our AS levels is A to E, and the passing grade for our A levels is A star to E. Next slide. So in June last year, we, for the first time, offered what we call the dual assessment route. So students that were able to sit exams took the exams, and students that were, because of closures or because of the pandemic, were unable to take exams, we provided a different form of assessment, and we call those SAGs, or school assessed grades. Now, we at Cambridge believe that exams are the best way to assess a student. And we're really pleased to say that 73%, despite the pandemic, 73% of our Cambridge students worldwide sat exams, and 27% of those students received school grades. And if you take a country like China that was open throughout the exam period, 100% of our students in China, for example, sat the examinations. Now, when you compare that to the IB, that also ran a dual route, only 38% of IB students took the exam route, and 61% of the IB students took the non-examined route. So I'm really proud of the achievement of our teams throughout the world to ensure that students had the best preparation for university last year. Our November series, as I said, is currently in progress, and we are still offering the same dual assessment route, and 90% of Cambridge students worldwide are sitting exams, and only 10% of students will receive school assessed grades. Thanks, Kamal. Next slide. But what we are trying to do is move away from school assessed grades. So for June 2022, if schools cannot hold in-person exams, we are looking at providing a portfolio of evidence approach. So this is where each portfolio of evidence would consist of 3 substantial pieces of work that the student have taken over the year. Schools will not be required to mark this work. And that, I think, is really important, because this work will come to Cambridge and we will mark it, we will assess it. And then the heads of center will need to declare that the work is authentic. So we are looking at this work is really authentic. Now, we don't expect a large number of schools to be involved in the contingency planning for next year, because we hope with the vaccination program, et cetera, we're moving out of the pandemic. This is just a contingency plan, and we are hoping that the majority of our students will take examinations. However, the grades that they receive for the portfolio of evidence will be grades that we provide the students rather than the schools provide the students. So we are hoping that this works, and schools all across our regions have been very positive about this approach. Thanks, Kamal. So every year we hold a destination survey, and we get a decent number of schools replying to it. Last year, because of the pandemic, we had fewer schools apply, but I still think it's a snapshot of what we can understand. So if you look at Malaysia, I think one of the things that came across strongly is students prefer to stay in Asia. And then holding this webinar today just reinforces the idea that there's this big market of students for Asian and Asian Pacific universities in our region, and students do want to stay in the region. And you can see the top 3 destination countries. So Malaysia, a lot of students stay at home, they go to the UK or they go to Australia. You can see their top subjects and the top universities they want to attend. And you can see the caliber of universities. So the aspirations of our students are very high, and they actually are admitted to these top universities around the world. Next slide, Kamal. So again, from China, students are more likely to stay at home, and others have interest in going overseas. Again, I think the pandemic has changed the way people think. So again, in Indonesia, you can see that they want to stay in Indonesia, go to the USA, or stay closer to home by going to Singapore universities. Next slide, please, Kamal. Students from China. In China, students are more likely to go abroad. Now, because of the government rules, if they take a foreign qualification in China, students are not allowed to study in Chinese universities. And they take the 3 top destination countries for our students, the UK, the USA, and Canada. Next slide, please, Kamal. And then these are students from India. So the top 3 destination countries, again, there has been a change, whereas previously students from India would go abroad. We can see that more students are staying in India because when they graduate from Indian universities, they are getting top jobs in the country. So students are more willing to stay in India, go to the USA or the UK, but there's also been a rise of interest in Canada and Australia. And I think if you look at the wider region, people are more interested as well in studying in Asian countries. Thanks. Next slide, please, Kamal. So we do a lot of research about our students, and the US provides a lot of material for us. And so we've worked with the Florida State University because we have a large contingency of students in the US going to Florida universities. And what we have seen is that in the 4-year university system in the US, very few people graduate within that 4 years. So about 46% of students graduate in 4 years. They generally take 5 or 6 years to graduate. However, a Cambridge student graduates, 60% of those students will graduate in 4 years. And that compares very favorably to 55% of AP students, which again is a very valued qualification in the US market, but only 55% of their students will graduate in 4 years compared to 60% of Cambridge students. I put a link to a blog where you can read more about that article. Next slide, please, Kamal. So within the US, students can get credits for AS and A levels. And what we have done is look at that quite closely. Because if you get a credit for an AS or A level, it means that you do not have to do an introductory course at university. So how do our students perform? Do they perform if they miss that introductory course? Is our specification or our syllabus strong enough to make sure that even if they miss it and go to the next course, they have the subject knowledge to perform well in that next course? And so we started working with Florida State University to look at the student performance in the next course, in their subsequent course. And as you can see from this data, students from Cambridge perform across the board really well. If they have received a grade E or above, they are more likely to get an A or a B or a C at a Florida University in their subsequent course than any other students. And that control will include students doing the IB and AP qualifications. So I think this is a really important thing to show the value of a Cambridge qualification, but also the rigor and robustness of it. Thanks, Kamal. We also work closely with the UK to get data. And these are some data headline statistics from the UCAS. They have a data program called Exact, and they can provide this information to us. And in 2018, 19, and 20, 53,500 students applied, and 51,990 students were offered a place. This is a really high percentage of offers. However, only 37,000 students actually accepted their places. Now, I think this is really important because although students have aspirations to go abroad, things may change in their personal circumstances. They may not be able to afford it. They may want to stay closer to home. There are lots of things that happen. So this is an opportunity for other universities to look and attract these students that do not take up their offers and find out why they don't take their offers. And is it something, the Asian Pacific universities can look at and say, okay, we'll try to recruit those students. Next slide, please, Kamal. So you can see this trend continues is every year. A large number of students apply to UK universities. A large number of students are made offers, but a smaller number of students actually go. And the surprising trend was in 2020, despite the pandemic, there was still an increase of students wanting to go to UK universities. And they did actually come because at that stage, the UK had their borders open, so students could come. So again, the pandemic didn't change the trend for students coming to the UK universities. But as you can see, the number accepting their places is far fewer than the numbers being offered their places. So I'd just like to conclude my session by thanking all of you for coming today and listening to us, and also to say to you that we would be happy to engage with you in any way possible. You have met Kamal, and I know people in East Asia have met Dora. So please contact us and we'll be happy to engage with you in any way possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Fantastic presentations from both Nikki and Kevin. We want to move straight to the Q&A. We have a question from Momo. I believe Momo is from Myanmar. Nikki, to apply for the UK visa, which Cambridge qualification is accepted, B2 or C1? For that matter, Nikki, if you could expand, not just for the UK, but for other key destinations, that would be very helpful as well.
Okay, great, thank you. So for UK, it does depend on what type of visa we're talking about. But if it was a student visa, so to study at undergraduate or postgraduate level, the student will need to demonstrate they're accepted by the university in order to get their student visa. So whichever qualifications the university recognise will be appropriate. C1 Advanced and C2 Proficiency have nearly 100% recognition with UK universities, so they would definitely be accepted. B2 First has less recognition, but as I say, if the university recognises it, then it's okay for a student visa at undergraduate or postgraduate level. Below degree level, so foundation, pathway, etc., is slightly different. The student would need to take a secure English language test, or CELT. So these are particular tests designated by the UK Visa and Immigration Authority. And for that purpose, we would recommend the IELTS test for UK VI. So it's called IELTS for UK VI. For working and living in the UK, so for other types of kind of work or immigration visas, we would recommend IELTS for UK VI, as that is on the UK VI Secure English Language Test list. If you're applying for a visa for a kind of healthcare profession, again, IELTS for UK VI would be accepted, but we also have our occupational English test, OET, which is on the CELT list, so that would be accepted as well. But as I said at the beginning, if it's undergraduate or postgraduate level and above for a student visa, C1 Advanced really is the test to take. For Australia and New Zealand, I think I covered them in my slide, but it's C1 Advanced for Australia for all visa categories. New Zealand is B2 First for all visa categories, although again, you can use your C1 if it's accepted by the universities. For Canada, it's kind of similar to the UK, I suppose, that for student visas to Canada, you need to be accepted by the relevant university. So it will depend on what the university accepts. And in Canada, we have pretty much blanket acceptance of C1 Advanced. So that would get you your student visa for Canada. And then in the USA, it's slightly different. There are no English language requirements for student visas. So I hope that answers the question, and there's full information on our website on all of those countries.
Thanks, Nikki. That's very helpful indeed. The next question, perhaps Kevin, you might want to answer it. Any thought when Cambridge International could speed up the result release for June examination? I know universities in the UK start in September, but in this part of the world, it could be as early as August. Kevin.
Yes, we are looking into this because there have been quite a few requests from universities around the world to release results earlier. However, our timetable for exams is so difficult because we have our IGCSEs, O levels, AS, and A levels. So we are trying to look at this. I can't promise that this will happen next year, but in 2 or 3 years' time, I think we will be able to move our exam results to slightly earlier. So
right.
It is something that we are looking at.
Right. Thanks, Kevin. Jeffrey Ang, are there plans to allow universities to verify AS and A levels online? I think I can answer this one, Kevin. Yeah, Jeffrey, just to answer this question, we have a verification portal called CIE Direct. If you write to me, I'm happy to share with you the link, and you could do the application online, and we will send you access up to 6 accounts per university you're allowed to have access to. So drop me an email, I can provide you the link, or you can even just Google CIE Direct for the application to this verification portal, Jeffrey. Next, Philip Anthony. If we suspect the fraudulent A-levels results notice issued by CIE has been submitted to us, can we send this to Cambridge for verification? If so, where? Kevin, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, if you suspect that there's a fraudulent certificate, please send us a query via our customer services, and then we will look into that and reply to you. So that is generally what people do and how we answer that. So we have a customer website, a service website that email that you can send, and we will be definitely answer your question.
Thanks, Kevin. Next question from Amanda Yan. Do students in China have the option to choose school assessed grades? Is it a school decision or a student decision, or whose decision is that?
It's neither a school or a student decision. School assessed grades is a government decision. So if the government of the country has closed the country down, there's lockdown because of COVID or something like that, and students can't take exams, it is at that stage that we say they could have moved to school assessed grades. Right. So it is a country decision, not a school or a student decision.
Thanks, Kevin. Walker, I was 8 minutes late. Can we have your slides? We will be sharing the recording after this, so the recording itself will have all the slides as featured in our presentation. So, do look out for our emails with regard to the recording. What is the minimum fee structure for CS in UK? Nikki or Kevin, do you know what this CS refer to?
CS.
Can the person who asked the question also perhaps clarify on what this CS structure is? Sanjula, I didn't get an email with the Zoom link.
Computer science.
Computer science.
Okay, it all depends on the universities that you want to study in. However, for students outside the UK, fees can be anything from 15,000 to 35,000 pounds, depending on the university and the course you're doing. University websites give all that information.
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. Sanjula, you have a question about not receiving links to the other webinar sessions. You can go straight to the Udentity website where we host our destination week and just click on to whatever session that you're interested to attend, and you will be linked directly to that particular Zoom channel for that particular webinar, right? Another question from Philip Anthony, Kevin. In a recent UK ANIC document, it was highlighted that the number of students being awarded the highest grades of A* and A have gone up. Has this something that Cambridge have specifically seen with the distribution of A-level administered results? Will this trend be is expected to continue?
So in the last year of the pandemic, the last 2 years of the pandemic, because in the UK, they had teacher assessed grades. The grade distributions have gone up. There has been grade inflation, no doubt. However, the UK government has announced that for 2022, so June 2022, they are going to provide a grade distribution between 2019 and 2021. So somewhere between 2019 and 2021, and the following year in 2023, revert back to the 2019 standard. Cambridge International is following that as well. So it's all on our website. We have announced that to our schools. So next year, there shouldn't be that increase. It should go down, but in 2023, it should revert to the original grade distribution.
Right. Next question from Hisian in Singapore. We noticed that students taking A-level results in Malaysia are given percentage uniform mark in their statement of results, but some students in Malaysia are not. Why is that so? Kevin.
The student. All students in Malaysia would get percentage uniform marks on their statements of results. There are certain countries where we do not provide statements of results to, and that is the Middle East and North Africa, due to the fact that in those countries, they provide what they call equivalence based on a percentage mark. So not to confuse the equivalence with the percentage uniform mark, those countries don't get it, but the majority of countries around the world, students will receive it.
Yep.
So if a student in Malaysia hasn't received a percentage uniform mark, I think we need to know about it, and we will definitely provide that.
Thanks, Kevin. I just want to go back again to Philip Anthony's question about fraudulent A-level results. Philip, if you are representing a university in our region, the Southeast Asian Pacific, please highlight to me. I will raise it with our colleagues in Cambridge, and definitely we will investigate the issue if there are fraudulent cases indeed, right? More often than not, you are able to verify it online through the CIE Direct portal. Otherwise, if you're unable to, highlight to me, and I'm happy to take it up, right? Riyasha, what can I do after A-levels in India? Kevin.
After A-levels in India, you can do anything you want to. You can go into employment, you can study overseas, and you can study in India. As you can see from our destination survey, more students in India are now going into Indian universities. So basically, we have a March series especially designed for those students to fit in with the admissions requirements for Indian universities, because they have a different timeline. And therefore, a lot of students taking the March series will be going to Indian universities.
Winnie Deng, how will you control the distribution of A*? You mentioned that the distribution will go back similar to 2019 from 2023. Kevin?
So this is to do with our grading. So in our grading, we will look at the students, and the grade distributions will be based around the 2019 grade distribution. So it'll be done at grading. Do you need to? So basically, with our this year we are doing portfolio of evidence. So we are not accepting school assessed grades. We'll be providing the grades for that, for the portfolio of evidence. 10% of students do that. And we'll be doing, the rest of the students will be doing examinations, and we'll use our business as usual grading processes. But we won't put it down to the 2019 this year, because we have to follow the UK so that we don't systematically disadvantage any students applying to UK universities with Cambridge qualifications. And therefore, this year it will be the same standard as the UK's, and next year it will go down to the 2019 standard again. It's called, it's our awarding standard. That's what it's be called.
Thanks, Kevin. Before we move on to the next question, are there questions that you would like to ask Nikki? Because I think most of the questions here are with regard to Cambridge A levels and AS levels. So feel free to drop your questions for Nikki. Next question again from Huisian. Is there any plan to remove the PALM for all countries moving forward? Kevin?
No. No.
Right.
We provide PALMs because in certain countries like India, where they look at the percentage for a student going through, it is really important. So we are not going to remove PALMs.
Right. Two more questions before I have to end the session. Sanjula, do you take into consideration that generally students improve from their mock grades to the Cambridge exams, Cambridge external? As well as from Tanish, related question, will this year mock marks be considered to find the predicted result for the final IGCSE examination? Kevin?
So we do not use mock grades in any way for our grading purposes. I think the mock grades are really important when you apply to, for example, a UK university, and you've got to provide predicted grades. So the teachers in those schools will provide the predicted grades based on the performance of the student. So the teacher knows the student. They also know how a student performed in the mock, but what they are capable of. So generally, the predicted grade is more an aspirational grade. This is what the student can achieve. And so when they apply to a UK university, their mock grades will show that, because the teachers do know the students. And will this year's mock grades be considered to find the predicted results for the final IGCSE examination? No. As I said, we're going to use a portfolio of evidence if a student cannot take an examination. So the work they have done and submitted to Cambridge is what their grade will be based on.
Thanks, Kevin. With that, I just want to remind everyone that if you've signed up for the other webinars, you just have to go straight from the Udentity website and click onto the link of the sessions that you would like to attend. Before I close the session, can I just invite Nikki to share some last comments or few words to wrap up the discussion, please, Nikki?
Well, firstly, thank you again for letting me join this session. It was really useful, and it was fascinating to see all the questions for Cambridge International and hear Kevin's answers there. I suppose, yeah, I would just encourage any universities who is looking at their English language proficiency testing policy, please do reach out to us at Cambridge English. We have a full range of English proficiency tests that will meet your needs, either for accepting students or for using in-house as part of progression or placement. So yeah, please do reach out to us. We would really love to hear from you all again. Thank you.
Kevin, final words from you.
Just thank everybody for joining today. And again, as Nikki said, if you require any information, just reach out to us. We're happy to work with you throughout this time and in the future. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you once again, Nikki Johnson and Kevin Ebenezer, for joining us in this session. It's 3:50 now Singapore, and I have to close the session because I need to prep for destination Australia, New Zealand. Next, in 10 minutes, those who are joining me later, welcome back. And Nikki and Kevin, thank you once again. Have a good rest of the day. To all of you who've joined us, thank you and hope to see you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.